Sadly, I don't have the dogs today in this week's episode of the movie wrap-up, and I won't do for a little while. Hopefully, though, I should have them in June/July, because my sister was saying to me that she's planning on going away again for another weekend with her partner in June/July time, so there might be another weekend very soon where the dogs may join me for another episode of the movie wrap-up. That's JJ and Simba, for those that are new around here and don't know. Anyway, and for those that missed last week's episode, yes, there was dogs involved in last week's episode of the movie wrap-up. Anyway, hello there, Steve-Os. Welcome along to this week's episode of the movie wrap-up. There's two movies for me to talk about in this episode of the movie wrap-up. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what movies they are in this week's movie wrap-up. You're watching Steve's Movie Wrap-Up, episode 67, right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. The first movie we'll be reviewing in this episode is Rat Race. So, the first movie I'll be talking about in this episode of the movie wrap-up is the movie Rat Race, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. I do love myself a comedy movie from time to time, and Rat Race is definitely a comedy movie that I love going back to and rewatching. I can't even tell you how many times I have watched this movie, because honestly, I used to watch this a lot as a kid, and even to this day, I still laugh at some of the scenes from this film because it's just so funny and bizarre and crazy as well. But I do always come away from this movie knowing I've had a good time with this. The film does star Cuba Gooding Jr., Whoopi Goldberg, Rowan Atkinson, Beckett Meyer, John Cleese, Beth Green, Amy Smart, and many more. And quite honestly, I do absolutely love their characters that they all play in the film. The dialogue in this is hilarious. The music scoring is also rather brilliant as well, and sometimes rather dramatic at times. And even the soundtrack behind the film is rather good as well. And there's even a guest appearance from Smash Mouth towards the end of the film as well, who sings the song All Star, which was commonly known back in the early 2000s when this film was released. Will I watch Rat Race again? Of course I will. And do I recommend Rat Race to other people to watch? Yeah, I do actually. I told someone about this movie and they have never heard of it before. So when I do eventually meet this person and they want me to introduce them to some films that they have never seen before, this will indeed be one of them for sure. But if you are into comedy movies that could be outrageous and over the top, then I highly recommend checking this one out for sure. Rat Race is now available on digital platforms. The Ugly Stepsister. And finally, this week, I've watched The Ugly Stepsister, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So I've finally been able to watch The Ugly Stepsister, which is a new movie that has been released this week on horror streaming service Shudder. And what do we think of The Ugly Stepsister is all about? Is it to do with those same ugly stepsisters that we all know from the classic story / fairy tale that is Cinderella? Well, of course it is. And despite the fact that there are some rather low-budget versions of the classic tale, and some of them are low-budget horror versions of the classic tale, it's safe to say that yes, this is a horror version of Cinderella, but except this focuses more on the ugly stepsisters, hence the title. I will say that it did kind of annoy me a little because on Shudder they didn't have the English dub, and I remember seeing the trailer for this just a few months ago, which was dubbed in English as the movie is Norwegian. So throughout the entire running time, I did have to read the English subtitles at the bottom of the screen, which was a shame. But the good thing about that though was the fact that there was some dialogue in here which did indeed make me laugh out loud. So there was some slightly light humour moments within the film, which is good. The characters I did think were rather likeable as well, and I do think the actresses in this film did do their roles justice and portrayed them rather well as well. There is some nudity in this film, just a slight heads up there, but also there is some blood and gore, which makes this a horror film. The messaging behind The Ugly Stepsister is kind of the same messaging that we got from the movie The Substance last year, and there are some scenes in this film that do stand out for me. It's similar to The Substance in the form of it being classed as a body horror movie, and there are some moments, as I say, that could leave some viewers quite squeamish if they aren't fully into the body horror genre of horror movies. Would I recommend the horror community to watch this film? Of course I would indeed. I do think it's a a great movie. The only one issue that I had, to be honest, was that I couldn't have the dubbed. I couldn't have this dubbed in English, but I do hope that one day they do have an English dubbed version. But for the time being, though, this is for me a watch once and once only film. Unless they do give me the English dubbing, then I'll happily watch this one again for sure. The Ugly Stepsister is now streaming over on the horror streaming service Shudder worldwide. And that is it for this week's episode of the Movie Wrap Up. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what films you've watched this week, whether it's old, new, in cinemas, Blu-ray, DVD, VHS. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you are new around here and you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. I'll be back on Monday the 12th of May 2025 at 4 PM UK time with my next episode of the weekly vlog. Until then, though, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.